So somebody that hasn't been cognizant of the oils they're including when they're cooking or eating, making salads, let's talk about the dangerous ones and how to go about switching those out for better choices.
Yeah. So the vegetable and the seed oils, which are processed oils, are what we need to be careful of, what we need to eliminate from the diet. And these are going to be things like canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, peanut oils. What's really challenging about this is that many of these oils literally have a stamp on the bottle that say they are heart healthy. They are endorsed by the American Heart Association. And so when I tell people that not only are these not heart healthy, but they're actually damaging to your heart, to your metabolic health, that is that is still something that very much confuses people. But understand that these are industrial oils that were modified and introduced into our food stream within the past 100 to 150 years. Our bodies did not evolve eating these oils, and our bodies cannot metabolize these oils. So what happens when we eat these oils is they get incorporated, again, fats, and the dietary fats that we eat get converted to fatty acids in our body. We call it all fat, but it's not all the same stuff. So it gets very confusing when you try and explain this. But those fatty acids are then put into cholesterol molecules. Those become part of our cellular structure. They literally, make up the membrane that encases a cell. They go into our mitochondria, which are the energy factories within the cells where our energy gets made, and our bodies can't really process them. They sort of put them in because they look a little bit like the animal fats that we evolved eating, but over time these build up and become, they're another damaging substance within our food supply that leads to some of these metabolic problems. And, explaining why gets very complex very quickly. We start to get into cellular levels. We start to get into what happens in the mitochondria, how all these cellular and chemical reactions occur that ultimately end up generating the energy. But for most people, what I tell them is it literally can break your mitochondria. It can break your cellular mechanisms for generating energy. And this is another thing that ultimately is going to lead to insulin resistance and poor metabolic health. So I strongly advocate for eliminating vegetable and seed oils as they're known. And again, even that term, we have to realize that vegetable oil is a marketing term. These things don't come from vegetables. It really was a marketing decision to call them vegetable oils because people were led to believe that vegetables are healthy for us and therefore vegetable oils must be healthy for us. And they're not. So they are so ubiquitous in our food supply. This is what becomes the problem. And why do I say you need to eliminate all processed food? Because almost all processed food, almost everything that comes in a box or a bag and has that nutritional label on it, if you look at those ingredients, you're going to find these vegetable and seed oils in them. The food industry loves vegetable and seed oils because they are cheap to produce. And they increase profit margins of those foods. And so that's why they love them. And when they were first introduced into our food supply, when they were first tested for human consumption, they don't kill you right away. They're not overtly poisonous. So we said, okay, we can eat them. The food industry said, great. We have this product that, increases our increases our profit margins and, has other properties that make it applicable to using in the food supply at large quantities. And so they were happy with it. And what we didn't realize was the long-term effects of eating these things. And when you're eating these things over many years, again, they break our cellular metabolism and they lead to these health problems, insulin resistance, and poor metabolic health. And that's why I advocate for eliminating processed food, because outside of processed food, you're really not going to get these things. Using them as cooking oils is another thing that we really want to get away from. And we want to get back to what we commonly used as cooking fats throughout our ancestral history. And these are the animal-based fats. These are things like lard and tallow. These are things like butter and ghee that our bodies can use and evolved using. And those are the fats that I advocate for people to incorporate into their diets.
You went where I was going to go. The fact that it is going to be a big shift for a lot of people to eliminate processed foods and maybe switch up a few of the oils that they're cooking with in their kitchen. But there's not a lot of entry points of those oils when we make those switches. So luckily, when you learn, you can eliminate those couple of areas and then get that out of your life. Although the point I want to ask you about, a challenge for all of us that are health conscious and trying to make better decisions is when we go out to eat. We have no idea what they're using when you order a salad or anything. They can be using the oils to cook and do all different things in the kitchen. And how do you go about eating out when it comes to oils?
Yeah, so in general, if you're not ordering fried foods, you're going to minimize your exposure. Most of the fried foods, including things like French fries, are going to be fried in vegetable and seed oils. So you want to, that's an kind of easier fix to make. Now, you might order the steak and they might be using vegetable and seed oil to, coat the grill to make that steak. What you're told is butter, might not be real butter. You can ask the questions. One of the things that I'll oftentimes tell people to do when they're eating out is say, I'm sensitive, I'm allergic to vegetable and seed oils. I can't have them in my diet, and you can kind of start to prompt them, what's in this? If it's a salad dressing, you almost have to assume that it's going to have vegetable and seed oil. So just ask for the dressing on the side, or, ask them, is this a homemade dressing? What do you put in it? And usually restaurants are going to be responsive to that, and will accommodate you and work with you. But the safest thing to do is, to order, meats that are just grilled, vegetables that are maybe just, sauteed in butter. Ask what they're sauteed in, or again, maybe grilled with some butter over them. These simple things that are going to minimize your exposure to the vegetable and seed oils. But you're right. If you're eating out, it's nearly impossible to have 100%, perfect, not getting any vegetable and seed oils. And again, in minimal quantities that you might get in that situation, probably not a big deal. But you want to do your best to avoid getting it in large quantities. And when you're eating out, those are typically going to come in fried food. They're going to come in salad dressings, and they might come in, other sauces and stuff. So you just try and minimize your exposure to all that as you're ordering.
That makes sense. And coming back to the good fats, butter, we have tallow, we have lard, ghee, those are the ones you mentioned. How do you compare those to some of the quote-unquote healthy oils that come from plants? Olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil.
Yeah.
Those get a free pass in the health world. How do you look at the difference between animal versus plant fat? But the three that I named, we're not talking about vegetable and seed oils.
Right. Yeah. So those plant fats that you mentioned, the difference between them and the vegetable and seed oils that we were talking about is that those fats actually come from the fruit of the plant itself. They don't require the processing to extract it and to make it palatable for humans to eat. So that's why they seem to be less harmful. And again, I don't have much problem with them. So this is sort of evolving us to talk about, do you need to be 100% carnivore or not? And the answer that I give people to that question is typically, again, it's going to depend on where you're starting from and what you're trying to accomplish and deal with. If you have an autoimmune condition, we need to recognize that that is typically going to be triggered by something in your diet that is coming from the plant kingdom. And so the best way to deal with that is probably going to be a carnivore diet as an elimination diet. And as you heal, you might start to reintroduce things. Now, again, similar to what I talked about with carbohydrates, plants are not essential to human life. Humans can exist as pure carnivores. We can get all of the nutrients that we need from animal products. So it is not essential to eat plants. You might choose to eat plants. They might be not harmful to you, but for certain people, they are harmful and they do need to be eliminated. So again, I try to get people to understand that carnivore is an option. Doesn't mean everyone needs to be carnivore. Now, I maintain a carnivore diet because, quite frankly, I find it easy to do. I find it satisfying. I enjoy eating meats. And, it's just a lot easier for me to maintain my metabolic health on a carnivore diet. Carnivore diets, you really don't have to track anything. You're not worried about your macros. You're really not doing a whole lot of planning. I just have, ample amounts of meat in my freezer, in my refrigerator. I get home from a long day of work. I grab something. Typically, I throw it on a grill or I throw it in a pan for a few minutes. I eat and I'm done. There's no waste. There's no cleanup. There's no recipe. There's no, it just is really easy. It's satisfying. It keeps me from being hungry. Typically on an animal-based diet, high in protein, with good amounts of fat. I only get hungry once or twice a day, so I only have to eat once or twice a day. And that's why, I maintain my carnivore diet. Thankfully, I don't have any of the autoimmune issues that makes it necessary for me to do so. But some people do. And that's, where a carnivore diet comes into play. And again, what I try to get people to understand is that a carnivore diet is a healthy diet. It is a heart healthy diet. So I want people to understand that you can do it. And there's no reason to fear a carnivore diet. Again, like many of the mainstream, nutritionists and, cardiologists will tell you, this concept that meat is harmful to our health is absolutely bunk. It just does not hold up to scientific scrutiny. It is all associational, things that are blamed on meat when we're eating meat in the context of a standard Western diet with all these processed foods. So when people eat a hamburger, typically that hamburger is going to have the bun and it's going to have the toppings and it's going to have the French fries with it and they're going to drink the soda with it. And again, for various reasons, not all scientifically driven, we turn that into, look how bad that hamburger is for your health. Look how bad that meat is for your health. And it never was the meat that was causing the damage. It was the other stuff. So a carnivore diet can be healthy, can support your heart health, your metabolic health. It is probably closest to our evolutionary diet, what we evolved as humans eating. And that's why I strongly advocate for, an animal-based protein diet.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
The first 10 plus years as a heart surgeon, I was increasingly unhealthy. I was morbidly obese, I was pre-diabetic, and I realized that I was destined for my own operating room.